Okay, we should be good.
Awesome, great. So I will call the meeting to order and roll call. Mary Jane looks present.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here.
Yes, all right. Rick Hoxley,
I'm here, thank you.
great. Andy Botang.
Andy,
Oh, wrong Andy. And Andy, oh, what's his last name? Now I feel really bad. On recording. Nevertheless, hold on a second. Let me pull up my
Schultz.
Schultz. Yes, Andy Scholl, not present. Wilder, not present. Renee Rahutsky, present. Excellent. So approval of the last minutes that Patty so thoughtfully sent out. So we have two sets of minutes. The first is the minutes of the special, our last meeting when we had discussions and things. So let's, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 1st.
I'll move to approve the meetings from February 1st.
Do we have a second? All right, Mary Jane seconds. Any discussion, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed, any objections? No, we're good. Our March 29th special meeting, which was more or less a summary, or we didn't really do any business other than receive a report. I'll entertain a motion to
Move approval of the minutes.
all right,
from
thank
that
you,
meeting.
Rick. Do I have a second? Mary Jane seconds. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, no abstentions. Great, thank you. Old business. Is there any more updates from the ad hoc committee? I believe there was one meeting since the report that they gave at our last meeting.
Don't
No.
have any updates from Bridget, not since the meeting, so.
Okay. All right, community outreach update. The Kent Environmental Council, where the Kent Environmental Council is moving forward on the Make Kent Wild project of encouraging people to garden with pollinators as well as edibles in their yards. And they're going to be at they're going to have a table for River Day at the farmers market on, I think it's the 22nd of May, which were the signs that we assembled the signs on Sunday. They're also working on a couple of garden tours to promote that. We'll see how that goes. I think that's it for Kent Environmental Council. Oh, they're also partnering with the Kent Historic South End, and there's a lot of labor and stuff helping to put in the community garden that is on a property owned by Doria Daniels. And so that's anyway.
When are the garden tours scheduled for?
We don't have dates yet. Probably late June.
Okay.
We'll probably have a South End tour and then a probably Crane to Main tour. So Rick and Mary Jane, we might want, you might want to entertain the possibility of having your gardens on that tour.
Oh, I'd be willing to do it, assuming we're in town. We're going to be gone a lot, June and July. But
Okay.
yeah, let me know if you know, as soon as you know a date, that'd be great.
Okay, we will do. We'll do. All right. Kent State Office of Sustainability. Has anybody talked to anybody at that office recently?
I have not, no. I've just gotten their newsletters. I wanted to ask, I assume that everybody is on that mailing list for the emails that they send out that has a lot of links, just updates of what they're currently doing. They won an award for all of the electronic recycling that they just did. So do you get those emails?
I get them, but Mary Jane, are you on that list yet?
I don't believe so. I got something about somebody speaking, but I didn't see anything about awards or anything. So that might have been something else that somebody forwarded to me. So
I can send you the link for that, Mary Jane, so that you can
Okay.
get the newsletter. There's some good
Great.
stuff in there.
Rick, are you on that mailing list? We can also forward it to Rick just to make sure.
I can forward it to the whole group. So.
Excellent, thank you.
all right.
Family and Community Services, any updates there?
No, Bridget did not have anything that she forwarded to me. She's getting ready to be on vacation, so she's not able to be on tonight.
All right.
No.
All right. I know that the Haven is planning a food forest behind their new facility on State Route 59, which isn't Kent exactly, but
Oh, that's cool.
That is
I know that Kent, the Kent Environmental Council gave a grant for that. Anyway, okay. Next item on old business is Tree City Bulletin article. So the fall articles are due July 9th. So I know that we historically, the Sustainability Commission has put something into the Tree City Bulletin, and that didn't happen like the last issue just because of all the transitions. So Patty, is that something that we're still, there's still space for, is there still space for us to put something in there?
There is, and I actually put in an article about the electronic recycling this time for the spring article. So
Oh, you just went mute, or no, wait a minute, maybe I went. I'm sorry, can you say something again?
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've got this new headset, so sometimes the button gets pushed. So, all right.
There was an article about the electronic recycling drive that was going on during March. So that went into the spring edition.
Excellent.
Not really an article so much as their lists of when it is and what they would accept. So
Great. I know that there's a lot of questions about recycling again, because of all the changes and things, and it might be that I put something on the agenda later on about the changes to the recycling policies. So that might be something where we could help clear up some misconceptions or something. But I'm wondering, so Mary Jane or Rick, do you have any thoughts about, I probably shouldn't have said that first. Let me back up a second. So normally we do something about sustainability. So I don't know if there's any ideas either of you might have about an article that we might want to put into the Tree City Bulletin.
Haven't been thinking about it at all. I mean,
This might be too soon for this, but I mean, I would think that some of this Andy's presentation, you know, if it could be brought down into readable, you know, like that would be interesting for the city of Kent to read about. But again, it might be, you know, that might be too soon of a date. You know, because I'm not sure what his timeline is at this point.
I think, I don't know, remember if it's been a while, but on the contamination in recycling, it's amazing. I mean, you feel like you've heard it over and over again, but it's still happening at really high rates. So maybe hitting on that again might be helpful.
You know, I like that idea also. I got flamed a little bit on Facebook. There's like a Kent, Ohio page where somebody was complaining that they were, I guess, again, this is down in other business, but it sounds like the city of Kent is stopping their contract with the Portage County Recycling for apartment complexes and things like that because of contamination. Is that right?
That's correct. And it's not the city of Kent deciding. And we could, maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about it now or wait till we get down there.
Yeah, we can wait till we get down there.
Yeah.
But I think that's the type of thing, they were just mad that like, aren't you fixing it? It's like, no, we the people have to actually recycle the way we're supposed to make it work for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary Jane?
So I had suggested a year or two ago to some group or other, and this is just, this isn't like big important stuff, but at Heritage Fest or some kind of, city thing that's happening, that a group would host a recycling, I don't know what the word is for it. Give people an opportunity to take a bunch of recyclables and see if they put them in the right, containers, just for fun, and then get a prize, get something, for whatever, just for trying,
So gamifying it.
It's a hands-on thing, and kids would be interested in it, and I think adults would, be willing to take the challenge or whatever to try it out and see if they're, because I think people do have misconceptions about what can be. And I know this doesn't have to do with the article, but so I feel like it'd be something worthwhile to check into at some point if we ever have a city event again.
Well, I heard that Heritage Festival is on. I'm sorry, Heritage Festival is on this year, correct?
That's not the case. No, there's fireworks, but there's no downtown festival.
No downtown festival. Okay.
Wow.
Not
okay.
Not that we've been able to say yes. The governor says we can schedule it.
Okay.
During our current constraints, we're saying no, not at this time.
Okay. Okay. Bad rumor that I heard then.
Yeah, a good rumor. I wish.
But maybe farmers market might. I don't know. There's not that much traffic at the farmers market, but I love that idea though, Mary Jane, is some sort of. I mean, Bill Steiner came to us a couple of years ago. He's the director of the Portage County Recycling Center, and he was asking for help and educating people. So that's something that we might be able to do. And I love that idea of maybe we could do is the fall Tree City Bulletin. We're only having 2 paper copies. Is that right?
We only have 2 issues now.
2 issues now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the spring and the fall chosen primarily because of the pickup schedules for
Right.
junk and brush. Mhm.
Okay. Can we can you include in the minutes, Patty, just the idea of the recycling, like, kind of an education piece? I don't know if there's any latitude to gamify. I mean, maybe we could conceivably host like a Zoom education thing with Bill Steiner.
We could do that. I mean, with the outside seating, I would have to check for sure, but I don't know why we couldn't have a station somewhere near the gazebo and just do that game as people are there for the evening or afternoons. That would be a good location to say, hey, you want to come play a game and see how good you are at this. I like the idea of making it fun instead of a shaming thing. Because gosh, we've had enough shaming to go around for a lifetime lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great idea, and it could be something that would be an easy setup to do for a couple hours downtown sporadically. Just a thought.
I like that idea. Yeah, let's put that on our. If you could put that in the minutes and maybe include it in the next. We can include it in the next agenda.
Okay.
I mean, I also, though, I do also like the idea of, I don't recall seeing a whole lot about the carbon footprint deal and the whole planning process. I mean, could we have just a short little blurb about what's being done in terms of the ad hoc committee and all that? Is that just to let people know what's going on? And especially since we only have 2 issues a year.
That's great. Rick, I don't remember, are you the person who committed to connecting with that group? The ad hoc group from our commission?
I said I would. I haven't heard from anybody, but am I supposed to take the lead on that, or what? How's that supposed to work?
Yeah, Patty, could you remind, I think there was a meeting that happened, so you should have been invited to it. Patty, could you ask Bridget to make sure Rick's on that? Is that something where you could just write just a little blurb, Rick, for the?
Oh yeah, if I know enough about it, sure, that's easy.
Yeah, that'd be great. And maybe, if we get a page, maybe like a quarter of the page is a little bit on the ad hoc update.
Yeah, right.
And the rest could be on recycling.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot, just to let people know what's going on.
Keep in mind too, we can always add something in the spotlights at the bottom of the first page of the website. If an article comes up and you want to write one, we can always post it for a month or 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I like that too.
The Tree City, we can get some information out there that way.
Well, if we do that, then we could link to it on social media. So it actually might get a little more play than.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, Rick, that's exactly what needs to happen, is because nobody knows about the ad hoc committee's work. So.
No, not at all.
And it's, there's some great stuff happening there. Awesome. Anything else in Tree City Bulletin article? Sounds like we have a direction then. All right, pending business. These are 3 items that we don't want to table, so we want to keep them on our agenda, but we won't necessarily talk about them unless needed. But I think it might be helpful just to talk about the waste stream reform. The idea was to look at using less material that's not recyclable. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, that kind of became problematic because of health concerns. We've actually been using more plastic rather than less plastic with takeout containers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know that's anything we can address at this point until, things have shifted as far as health concerns go. Bicycle friendly community. Have you heard anything more about that, Patty? Is that in your wheelhouse?
I've not heard anything. I had a gentleman want to add scooters, but he was going to check with the university instead and see if they were wanting to add a project. But no, nothing about those bicycles coming back on campus.
But there's also a designation, there's a bicycle friendly community designation that we applied for it, and we got some recommendations that came back. Yeah, or like I don't think we even got bronze. I think we just got like, okay, you get the gold star for turning in your paperwork.
I think actually we got bronze.
Oh, did we get bronze?
Yeah. Harrison wants to go for the gold, so yeah, no, I have access to that stuff.
All right.
Are we ready to try to connect with that again?
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful if you could like bring the current commission up to date on where that stands and where we need to go.
Okay.
I think like Ann Ward, Harrison had reached out to Ann Ward and some other, bicycle friendly folks who are also City of Kent residents about that. And we put that on hold because of the pandemic, but people are riding bicycles, so
right.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Any thoughts about that, Mary Jane or Rick? I know this is kind of new.
Well, I was involved early on with Kent State effort to become a bicycle friendly community, but I haven't really, I know Ann has been working on trying to get Kent that designation, but I haven't heard a whole lot about it, so.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great to get an update next meeting. Patty, if you can pull that stuff together, thank you. So the third item there is farmers market attendance. The Sustainability Commission has been at the farmers market in the past.
Yes.
And yeah, last year, like there was nobody but actual people selling food. But this year, because the restrictions have been lifted a little bit, I know that the farmers market is accepting, an occasional booth of different social organizations. So it sounds like we would have the opportunity of having a booth down the road. So it'd be nice if Andy and Wilder were here, but is that something that Wilder's here?
Yeah.
Wilder is here. Look at
Yeah,
that.
hello. Sorry,
Hey,
I
welcome.
joined a little bit late. Sorry.
All right. Let's let the record note that Wilder is in the house. Great. Wilder, perfect timing. We're talking about the farmers market and that we might, it sounds like we're going to be allowed to have a table if we'd like. So
Okay.
is that something that any of us are willing and able to help staff? Normally, we had 2 of us for like a first shift and 2 of us for a second shift.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Is that something you'd be up for? You too, Mary Jane?
I've done it before. I was in the group that initiated doing that. So
Awesome.
as long as I'm in town. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the trick, is to look at calendars. Is it, so here's a question, Patty, that I hope maybe you can answer. Are we, like, could we do like a what do you call it? Meeting wizard kind of thing, just to, like, not in our meeting, to just determine what dates people are available and then make the
App, a scheduling app?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that okay? We can do that as a commission. So that's something I can do, and I can send out to the group just to see what Saturdays we might be available. So I'd hate to use meeting time to like sit here and go through our calendars, but that might streamline it for our next meeting. Maybe I'd like to maybe at least twice during the summer try to be at the farmers market. Does that seem reasonable to y'all?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll put that on my list of things to do. So we have, I took my daughter's dollhouse and made like some environmentally sustainable features on it. So it has solar panels and it has a little
cool.
permaculture backyard and some other things, but which, kind of gets people interested, but we might also want to consider like some of the other information about sustainability. Do we have the ability to get things printed, Patty, like some flyers or brochures or something?
Absolutely.
We needed to. So let's take a few minutes to just talk about what kinds of things we might have at a booth to talk, around sustainability.
Well, I would think for sure we'd want to have something about the big plan, right? The ad hoc committee and all what's going on, even just to let people know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Be logical. But, and then recycling, what we've been talking about. Yeah, we could even do our little recycling game at the farmers market, right? I mean.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was gonna say I would like to see something about just plastic usage within the household. If we could do something about that.
Yeah, there's things you can do with different kinds of plastic. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I think that's a great idea though. Something around, we were talking earlier, Wilder, Mary Jane had the thought of having some sort of gamified thing where is it recyclable or not recyclable, and have people try to, yeah.
I gotcha.
We could do like a flip up kind of thing too, if we had a board or something and like yes or no.
Sure.
I don't know, there's whoever has a gaming mind. How about you, Mary Jane? Do you have any thoughts about what we might want to do at a booth?
Well, I was going to suggest that maybe that would be the time to do the recycling thing. And again, there could be a lot of different ways we approach that. So, but that was kind of my, that's kind of what I had in my mind.
Mhm. Well, I think historically, the way we've kind of done this, if somebody feels like they have an idea, they kind of, one of us or maybe a pair of us can run with that, like come up with something together. So I don't know if that's something anybody wants to volunteer to do, like some sort of thing about education around recycling, however that's going to look. We don't have to determine that as a group necessarily, but I think we can empower, one or two of us to. We're allowed to talk with one another as a pair, not making decisions, but you just can't have three people
Right.
doing anything together in service of this group.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's something, Mary Jane, if you and Wilder wanted to put your heads together and brainstorm some ideas about what we might do at a booth and bring that back next meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Action item, woohoo!
Woohoo.
And do I have Wilder's contact info?
Yeah, I can tell you my email if that works.
All right.
You have something to write it down with?
Yep.
It's Ritz, HRITZ 15, the number, at gmail.com.
Okay.
All right, that works great. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, anything else on the farmers market? All right, other business. So these are things that I asked to be put on the agenda now that I know how things work. And so the first one, I think I just wanted us to, the waste stream reform kind of informed this one, but like after the pandemic, what does sustainability look like? And, with, all of us are a little bit newer on the commission. I'm still in my first term and, we're all in our first term except for Andy. There may be things that we might want to think about differently. So we've, historically talked about recycling, the bicycle friendly community, some of the other things. And is there other things that we should need to like the local food shed? We had food shortages a year ago, right? So there's this idea of, do we have, as the climate changes, as other things, we have other concerning things about what the future might look like as far as health and well-being. What locally might we want to think about around sustainability? So not just around climate change, but also like making sure our water is, clean drinking water. I just saw something in the news where the aquifers are starting to lower and that people's wells are starting to dry up. And so I know that the city of Kent's been really good about our own water supply, but we get water out of an aquifer. So, maybe those are things for us to think about. So, so I just I'm curious if there's anything that's been on any of your minds or hearts around, are there things we need to think about differently with what we've learned in the past year?
Interesting.
And again, this is something this can be on the agenda, but I'm just thinking, there's sometimes we have to get on we're sort of like on a dance floor and you don't really see everything that's going on. So once in a while you have to kind of climb up the stairs under the balcony to kind of get the big picture. So this is a kind of a big picture question. Are we asking the right questions? Are we doing the right things rather than just bumbling along the way we always have? Are there different questions we should be asking?
I guess the thing I've been thinking about, I saw a friend of mine yesterday that works for Coleman, and they've just been really slammed with people with mental health issues. And, I really think, Renee, it's kind of like the takeout container issue and the plastic and all that, is that people have been so focused on just surviving. I mean, some people literally surviving, a lot of us more or less dealing with a new normal, that it's hard to think beyond that. And I think that's, I've seen a lot of, I read a lot of newspapers, and I'm a kind of a news junkie. The discussion I'm hearing a lot is, and even what we're hearing from President Biden is, we've got to build back, but we got to build back better. So we've really got to rethink about how we think about sustainability and what we think about economy, what we think about environment. And it's exciting, but it's also scary. And, I think you're right. I think this is a long-term agenda discussion. I mean, I can't sit here right now and say, hey, these are the 7 things that we need to do differently, but we need to do a lot differently, is the way I would think about it. So.
Mary Jane or Wilder, either of you have any thoughts? And again, this is now on the agenda, so we can revisit this next time when you've had time to think about it.
No, not really.
Well, I personally would like to see more action. I mean, for me, action is a positive thing, especially with mental health concerns. If you can do something immediately that will benefit in all these different ways. And I'm a little bit curious, and this is probably an old conversation, and just because I'm new, I haven't heard it. But being the Tree City, do we have any tree planting programs that are going on within the city? Is there any kind of kickback to residents for the planting trees? In a couple block radius of my house, in the past, I've been here for 10 years now, 27 at least at the last count, and there's been more since then. 27 large trees have come down in the past 10 years. Okay. And the light pollution has gone up. Now people will go, well, you live in the city, what do you expect? But, I'm just seeing less, and nobody's replanting any of these trees. And so I just am wondering, why is that? Is that a financial, is it too much of a liability to plant trees, or what's going on with that? But we keep hearing that we should be planting trees, and the best time to do it was 40 years ago or whatever. So where are we with that?
I like that. I think you're right on. As
far as from the city perspective, I know that when there's a project that trees come down, they are replaced. I don't know if it's a 1-to-1 ratio or if it's a fast growing tree, I don't know all those details. But when a tree comes down on somebody's property and they've paid to have that come down, or the storm took it out and they finished it, I can't imagine we can tell them, okay, you have to replace that tree because it's their private property. But I know that the city arborist was talking about 400 saplings he was handing out to people to plant. So it is a high priority for the service department.
Who is the arborist now, Patty?
Brad McKay.
Is that another thing that, has there been articles in the Tree City Bulletin about the sapling program?
Not that I'm aware of. It was, I an Arbor Day thing, and I think he just kind of took it on because, and he was working with one Rosenberg. She was happy to take some and help with that effort. So I'm not sure where else he was dispersing them.
Now, is he a city employee or is it a
Yes.
volunteer? Okay.
Employee.
So that might be another place where, information to people, letting people know that stuff like that happens and to encourage people. Part of it is changing hearts and attitudes as much as the financial piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I found it in an ordinance, what the tree replacement policy is. So if not in the ordinances, somewhere, it was on the website that I found it. And I can check back and try to find that link and forward it to everybody too.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be awesome.
Well, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, MJ just sort of made that come to my mind, is that a Dark Sky Ordinance. I know, and I haven't looked into it. We're rebuilding North Water Street, and I'm wondering if the lights that are being installed are lights that have cutoffs, so we're not doing more light pollution. I think light pollution is something that a lot of people don't think about at all. Something we could bring, it might be a scenario where, as a commission, we want to promote that we do a dark sky ordinance to make sure that we're not encouraging light pollution, either city projects or even for when the ARC board or the planning commission is reviewing projects, that we have a ordinance that we're making sure that we're not putting light into the sky.
Is that, maybe there's an education component to begin with around light pollution as well? I mean, I kind of know it's a thing, but I don't know why. So
Sure.
that might be something where I just know it's hard to sleep in my backyard because it's too darn light out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people, I mean, believe me, I've complained about lights in my neighborhood, and well, they meet the ordinance. It's like, well, great. We don't have a very good ordinance if you can have a light shining in my window and you're cool with that, so.
Mary Jane, did you have your hand up?
I was just gonna say that, like, I don't know, I feel accountable to the wildlife along the river, like, I feel like that should definitely be protected from the light pollution, because who knows, negative effects on wildlife, and I mean, it is, a big part of our city. So,
Yeah.
When you were saying education component, I'm thinking that might be a way to bring it to people's attention as well.
Great. Excellent.
Well, I guess I would like to put that on our agenda somehow, that we just keep that discussion going about that. I'd be willing to do some more research and bring some ideas to the table, but I think we could propose an ordinance for the city that, we could bring that forward. I've been out in Colorado. There's a town out in Colorado that people flock to because it's got the best view of the Milky Way in America, just because they've really been very careful about the way they deal with light pollution. And one of the things we miss in Northeast Ohio is we really miss the sky because we have so much light pollution. That has all kinds of philosophical and spiritual implications, I know, but
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Patty, can you add that to our agenda for next time?
I can.
Okay, beautiful. All right. See, wow, we came up with some stuff there, and
There you go.
you'll report back on the tree ordinance or the tree policies that we have.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything I missed there that we roundup of stuff that came up? I think I got it all. Okay. So here we are back to the changes to the City of Kent Portage County recycling policy.
Yeah.
Oh, such a rough topic. So I went back to November and looked at the YouTube meeting where our service director and Bill Steiner were both in the council meeting and presented it that it's kind of a shared agreement to let the contract end. And it was because the contamination at the multifamily sites was up at like 40% contaminated. And historically, the complexes are where it's higher. They both were praising the houses. Residents are doing a great job at curbside. He said it's very clean. Everybody's, for the most part, following the rules. They can get rid of that less expensively or cheaper than the highly contaminated. And so the fee was going to double to take a truckload over to Akron of that highly contaminated load. And so those fees were either going to hit the residents or they were just going to stop it because they're not recycling right in the first place. So why are we going to pay all this money, charge them money for just making more trash effectively? That's kind of the short story of it. So the Portage County agreed to extend it for 3 more months so that it gave the apartment complexes time to find somebody new. And I think a lot of them just didn't. And if you watch that council meeting from November 4th, I was shocked. There's some of the apartment complexes that they had their bins removed. They were no longer being served, but the city was still being billed. And because we were acting as a third-party biller for the county for a while, and then there's a lot of administrative issues with that third-party billing not being correct. There were lawsuits that were happening because it was not correct. So it's to raise rates on something that's not working well is not good, but it's still not a good answer because now we've taken away the recycling from some of the people that were doing it the right way. The county was actually talking about possibly ending the recycling program altogether. So thankfully that didn't happen for the the homeowners. But yeah, that's pretty much the summary. Any other questions? Think maybe I left anything out? Does that make sense? It's sad, but does it make sense?
My question is, I don't know, part of it's historical. So recycling, I know that the Kent Environmental Council helped get recycling started. And then it became, I think, the city had the recycling and then it went to the county. And so in some ways it sounds, we've lost control of whether or not recycling can continue. And there's, it sounds like there are hostile elements toward recycling as a city or a county service.
I think it's become so expensive for them that they were going backwards financially in that area. Stopping it altogether is certainly not the option because we do have an ordinance that says that we have to recycle here. So part of the talk from that meeting was that we need to revise our ordinances so that the ordinance has more teeth when we need to enforce it. So if an apartment is not offering recycling or doing it well, then they're the ones that are getting the fine and we can continue the program. If it's going to cost more, then they would be the ones paying for it. Does that make sense? So.
Thank you.
So is this a big apartment complex or just multi?
That was another.
Family housing.
It's multifamily housing, and there's
Student housing as well, then that would include student housing and stuff.
more than 4, I forget, because it's different between trash and recycling. One of them is more than 3, the other is more than 4 families in a house. So yeah, it would be the student, the larger student houses.
Okay.
Any other questions for Patty? Great, thank you. That was really helpful. And I think that, getting that information out into the community is that, I don't know. I mean, we have to, just like the homeowners following, or at least the residents, the single family dwellings sound like they're doing well. I mean, part of it is the accountability is easier, right? Because if somebody puts junk into the recycle bin, they get a note, or they can get a citation because it's really obvious who the culprit is. Where if you have a bunch of anonymous, my daughter lives in apartment complexes, so I kind of see yeah, I don't think that mattress is recycled a lot, as it turns out.
What's funny, a week or so ago, I noticed that there were big orange stickers up and down my street on the recycling bins. And myself and only one other person is owner occupied. The rest are like student housing. So I don't know, they got some kind of a little warning sticker recently. I'm assuming that they were contaminated.
Good.
Probably a safe bet.
Excellent. All right, we have 2 more items that I introduced, so I don't want to, we got 10 minutes, okay. One was the community gardens. This is something that I don't know if it's our business or not, but there's a property that the Community Action Council purchased years ago on the south end of Kent. And there's like, the city has money for it, and there's, finding the right fiscal agent or the right agent. So I'm wondering if that's something that our commission might be helpful to, like provide a communication conduit to the citizens, or connect with what exactly is required or is needed from the city of organizations and that sort of thing. I don't know. Does that even make sense to you as a question, Patty?
Yeah, there's definitely things I want to say about this. That property, the money is federal money, and it is run through the CDBG grant as well. And it has to be paid to a 501c3, I forget which way it is, but it has to go to the nonprofit. It cannot go to a individual. And so that was where that kind of fell apart. It was going to go to the church that had been involved. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, no, they weren't involved. And it can't just go to a resident to do that. And so mm-hmm. that was why that ended up falling through. And I don't know all the details of what happened, why it stopped, why they backed out. But so there's 2 properties now down there. One is privately managed, and then this one. So the report for where this money goes each year has to be filed by March. So because this fell through before the deadline and nothing else happened by the deadline, it's just gone other places for 2021, but it would be available next year. So if we get somebody who's willing to be a participant in that, a nonprofit, then we could certainly entertain that and make that happen.
Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
So Community Action Council is no longer involved. I thought they were the ones that initiated the idea.
I don't know. That was a while. Bridget sent me an email. I'll go through that and I may need to summarize that, but I don't, that's not a nonprofit, is it?
Oh, I don't know exactly. I mean, I just got off as president of a nonprofit called Green Sprout.
Uh-huh.
It's been working with the schools on community school gardens,
Hmm.
and we might be interested in hosting that if that's. We didn't know that was an issue. I thought that CAC was taking care of all that. So that's the first I heard that it was an issue. You didn't have a sponsor, a 501c3 sponsor.
My understanding is that there's the historic South End, which is the neighborhood group that it's their neighborhood, and so, but they're not a nonprofit anymore.
Right.
So they don't have the designation in order to do that. And so the
Right.
church that was looking to partner, it seems like there was relationship between the South End leadership and the church leadership that fell apart. And so that's why the church was going to be the fiscal agent. And
they can't be the fiscal agent.
well, they probably could, but they don't have the confidence of the local residents. So the local residents were feeling, I don't know, that's the stuff that I don't know the details of, but there were relational issues that ended up being a problem. And so, and the piece is that, does the fiscal agent has to be bonded with some sort of insurance? Is that the case, Patty?
I don't know. I can double check on that.
So that's the piece, like what's required of the fiscal, the 501c3, other than their like what 501 status do they need? If we could like find those details, perhaps we could reach out to other organizations that might be able to be better partners. Or
let me know, because we have a 501c3 that our whole deal is community gardens. So that's the whole concept of what we're doing. So I'm no longer the president, but I could certainly bring it to the board. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they also reached out to the Kent Environmental Council, and I think there's a couple, Let's Grow Coalition or something, or maybe that's the same thing as Green Sprout. But anyway,
who is that?
Let's Grow.
Is it the Let's Grow? I don't know. I'm
no,
just
I
going
don't
from
know
memory.
that's
Okay.
something different.
Okay.
Okay.
But
yeah, I will find out what the requirements would be.
Okay, that would be awesome.
It's my understanding that the church that was involved does this a lot in lots of different areas. So they were experienced in it, but yeah, if the residents don't feel comfortable, then that's not going to be a good mix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, I think it's as many community gardens as we can get, the better, of course, but
yeah, that's my feeling as well. Great, thank you, Patty. That's awesome. So the last thing is the promoting pollinator pockets, which is one of the initiatives of the Kent Environmental Council. But I'm wondering about, is there, so there's pollinator, like growing pollinators in yards, and then there's noxious weeds. And so how can a resident, other than putting a sign in saying, oh, this is a pollinator pocket, that we want there to be some integrity about growing plants that are pollinator friendly, that are not noxious weeds. And I'm wondering, I feel like I'm giving you a huge long to-do list here, Patty, but is there something, is that easy to find out, like what's considered to be a noxious weed? And are there things that can make it easier for residents to plant pollinator patches in their yards without being cited for noxious weeds?
I'm sure there is, because if I go down to Peister, I know that Jen, I can't remember if it's Jen Tabor or one of the other Jen that's in our heart and soul. She just tore up her front yard to do pollinator, and has the rocks around it. And I can talk with our code enforcement to see what they would say about it. But I've actually been doing some research on my own to try to decide how big of one I want to put in my yard. So, but yeah, I can find out what the rules are. If we need signs, maybe even get some made. So, yeah, I don't know.
The Kent Environmental Council has 500 signs that just say "Wild Your Yard Pollinator Pocket." So that's they're going to be handing those out at River Day along with the Kent Parks and Rec. So they're working together, and they've got some pollinator seeds that they're going to be giving out River Day.
Okay.
So there's a positive thing there, but I'm also just wanting to kind of clear a path, if you will, for so that residents know, I don't know, so that there just could be a conversation so people don't get cited when they're trying to do pollinator pockets, but also not give cover to people who just don't want to mow.
Right. Right.
Great. All right. That's it for business. So just hint to the wise. If you want to get something on the agenda, just kind of send it to Patty before, about a week before, so that it can get on the agenda the way I was able to get these items on the agenda. I'm also, if like you're feeling like we need to take something off the agenda so that we keep our meetings, at a reasonable length. We're at an hour, so hey, yay us.
Well, if I might add, Robert's rules says that we should, at the end of our meeting, we should talk about what we want to have on the agenda, and then we can make a motion to put things on the agenda. So,
for the next time.
Think about it that way too. So come to the next meeting. I mean, you can do it ahead of time, but technically you're supposed to, as a group, we should decide whether it should be on the agenda. So just keep
excellent. That. Okay, that's excellent. And that feels much better too, rather than here's Renee giving us a bunch of junk to do.
Right. I mean, and I don't know technically if the way you did it would be what, according to the sunshine law, this way I understand it in Ohio, that if you do something via email, it's technically a violation of the sunshine law because it's a sequential meeting. So anyway,
all right.
I know we have a more of a relaxed view of what it means to use Robert's rules, but I would suggest that when you come to the next meeting, if you have something to put on the agenda, that's when we do it, not ahead of time. So.
All right, beautiful. Beautiful. Is there anything that anybody wants to put on the agenda for next time that we haven't already done? Or anything that I've brought up you want to take off the agenda? My feelings would not be hurt.
I'm good. Good to see
Wilder.
you, Wilder. One of these days we'll meet in person.
Sounds good. Can't wait.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mary Jane makes a motion. All right. Do I have a second? Wilder seconds. All right. Anybody, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Looking at you, Wilder. Yeah, you want to adjourn? You want to keep going?
Well,
all right. All right. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you
Patty.
all.
Patty, have a good week and a good month.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. Thank you so much for all the work you do. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Thank you.
All right.